Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Prime Dude podcast. Your host, as always, Rob Edwards. Today, we've got a couple shoes to discuss, warming up in the corner. Also, something I consider a defect with a major custom shirt maker. This is a problem, and it's nothing like what I overcame with the great people at Proper Cloth regarding some sizing issues. This is a defect, and it's a defect in a dress shirt. So we'll talk about that in a second. We're going to do some shoe care on a dress shoe that I've had for quite a while now, and it might surprise you because I've beaten this thing up pretty well, and it's from To Boot New York, and they get one heck of a time from the shoe elite on Reddit and on Discord, and I don't think it's fair except for they're too expensive. So I think their Blake Stitch quality is fine, better than fine, and I think you've heard me talk about Blake Stitch and say what I feel, and I think for those of you that need a shoe to wear once in a while, and you're probably not going to ever worry about getting it resold, a Blake Stitch shoe is going to do you great. Don't let anyone tell you have to have Goodyear Welted, because typically you're going to pay extra for that. Now, I do have a shoe here that I'm going to talk about after we start the shoe care and after we talk about the shirt defect, and that is this Meermin tan antique calf loafer, which I am just about to finish the review. Of course, if you're keeping up, I just released my TLB Mallorca Artista review. Next will be the Blackbird Shoes Luke Derby. And then to follow, I'll get into that Meermin shoe, a fantastic shoe I just received from Justin Fitzpatrick, a Sangria calf, is a brogue. Well, it's a, I guess it's definitely a cap toe. And so it's beautiful, just beautiful. I'll leave it at that because I haven't looked at it much. But first out of the box, I did the unboxing part of the video. Real pleased with that. And so, and then just general issues I'll talk about while I'm shining the shoes. But first, let's get to the Tailor Store. At one point, I thought the Tailor Store, here's their label, which is unassuming, just so you see it, right? You see it there. This is a pretty well-known. Now, I've yet to run into somebody off the street that tells me, oh yeah, I order from the Tailor Store. But most people do off the rack. Most people know Proper Cloth or a few others. They know Charles Tyrwhitt. Of course, I've reviewed now Charles Tyrwhitt. That's available on my channel. Just released, I'll link it below, my Proper Cloth 1-year dress shirt review, which includes all the trials and tribulations I ran into. Nothing major. One was my own fault. Again, I'm all about being vulnerable on this. Vulnerable. I want you guys to learn. But they did help me. There was definitely a discrepancy in sleeve length that was severe enough to make the shirts uncomfortable, and Proper Cloth came through. See the full review. I go through how to order, my tips and tricks on how to do it right the first time, and what to do as you build your wardrobe using Proper Cloth, which I think makes a very strong shirt. They're a little pricey. I'll leave it up to you. But for a while, I thought Tailor Store was going to be my favorite. And I'll put up some video as I talk about it. And I've been building to do this review, and I would have had it out by now. But then I ran into this collar issue. So other than this, Tailor Store has made the best fitting, custom, made-to-measure dress shirt I have ordered. Unfortunately, this is the problem. They have this flare-out issue with their collar. Now, they have a few collar styles you can order. I have a number of hidden button collar styles, meaning there's a button here on the shirt, and you can't see it from the side, but it holds the collar in place. Now, what I don't love about it is from the front, I should have grabbed one, but I'll have video. From the front, you can kind of see it, and it'll kind of bevel out, but it is a nice look. And if you want your collar to stay in place, that's a certainty. Now, of course, there's the button-down collar, which is a little more casual. I have one of their shirts in a nice linen cotton blend, actually beautiful shirt. They have great fabrics, great prices. They do multi-buys, but this is not just a game changer. It's an automatic cancellation. I emailed them about this a few months ago because I steered away, or I ventured away from the button-down hidden button collar, because you can pick your styles. It's going to be part of my review, just like I did Proper Cloth. I'm going to walk you through that. But for me right now, I want to tell you to avoid this company unless you do the button-down styles, either button-down where you can see it or the hidden button. Because I've ironed this, I've put a dumbbell weight on it to hold it down, and I did just take one shirt. These are new shirts. These are shirts I have not worn this dress shirt, right? It's just a basic light blue dress shirt in an insert. They have inserts, right? Irritated they're not metal. Charles Tyrwhitt, for less money, they give you metal inserts. Proper Cloth, metal inserts. Leadberry, maybe my favorite off the rack with custom fits, but they do plastic, and so does Tailor Store. Then you add this problem. I'm telling you guys, it may not look like a lot, but when you put a jacket on, this sits on the outside like Saturday Night Fever. You don't want that. And I took one of their shirts last week on a trip, having tried it on. It fits, always fits great. I just forgot about this issue, and I couldn't iron it down. It also had a defect in the collar, a wrinkling. I'm sure they'll take care of that, but the email is in their inbox. I believe they're in Switzerland or Sweden at the main office. They've got offices all over the country, one in Denver in the US. So if I don't get some kind of resolution, I'm just going to send these back with a letter and say, guys, you need to fix this. Right now, I just wouldn't order a dress shirt from Tailor Store. And I hate to do that. I don't want to say anything bad, but you need to value your money. I've lost a significant amount of money here on this last order because I tried more of these, and I don't know, these are different fabrics and they're all the same. They bounce out. I'm telling you, you cannot iron them down. The dry cleaners, the professional cleaners I took them to yesterday, they'll be done tomorrow. And so that'll be part of my update on the video. But I might add it to this because, give me a couple of days, but they weren't sure. The lady at the shop, at the dry cleaners, was very concerned. She said she thinks it's the fabric. They're not sure if they can get this because she noticed it right away. It's a real problem. This is the feature of the collar, is the eye point of a dress shirt, right? So those are either going to get taken care of, remade, or refunded, or sent to Goodwill, right? Meaning I'm going to donate them because there are people that need shirts. I've donated plenty of clothes. And so we'll see. I'll keep you posted on Tailor Store, but that is a defect. No collar should flare out, bounce out like that at any time ever. Okay, moving on to the shoe care portion, right? This is my To Boot New York. This is what they call a burnished brown. It's a pretty dark brown, but you can see the burnishing, which I've always thought was really nice. And To Boot New York makes their shoes in Italy. The guy that founded it is named Adam Derrick, and they started working his name into the brand. You can read all about him on the website. What you can't read about, and this is more of a thing now, a trend, and something we're looking for, is I can't tell where they get the leather. I'm sure if you do a deep dive, maybe you guys can find out for me. I haven't had a chance to do that. They've been around for a while, so maybe you can AI it. But this leather, I got this shoe 7-8 years ago. It's Blake stitched. It's got a rubber sole. I've had the heel. I wore this a lot. I had to have the heel replaced at a cobbler, and I do love the brown. I've always enjoyed it, and I own a few others before I really started learning about shoes. Last year, I bought a few more To Boot New York dress shoes, and the leather seems a little different on some of them, meaning I don't love it as much. I'm not sure if they're sourcing it. The problem is they're still charging well over $400 with very limited sale options, and the sale stuff is usually extra inventory shoes. They make some nice releases. They make some nice products. This Derby, right? I can't remember what the name of it was, is a really great shoe. It's lasted me years. So I'm going to endorse the company, but not the price. I think they're overpriced. Right now the Loafers are under $4, but not much. These are Blake stitch shoes, right? So not Goodyear Welted. You have boots and Oxford shoes, Derbies, dress shoes, whatever, for $425 to $495. That's too much money for a Blake stitch shoe. You just don't need to pay that in a world where I'm getting Goodyear Welted shoes for $215. And not that makes it a great shoe. That's just one thing. But you're paying extra for those typically because Goodyear welting is more labor, more craftsmanship, more build. Blake stitching is handmade, and it's there's Bologna stitching, Italian shoemakers. It's similar, where you just don't have the welt, right? You don't have. By the way, I just added my Saphir Renovateur, and these shoes. By the way, I meant, why am I doing shoe care? I was expecting to hit storms last week. These rubber sole, kind of older shoes are my storm weather shoes. These are what I bring when I don't mind getting some water on them. I've treated them all with the Saphir protectant spray. I didn't get any rain, but I did get them wet a few times, so I didn't get stuck in the rain. So these are going to take some extra care. And so you didn't see in the beginning probably, but there's a lot of water spots. Nothing that's seeped in, nothing that's soaked in, just spray. And you can see the Renovateur seems to keep that on the surface. So gonna let that sit for a second. Put my lid on the Saphir here just so it doesn't dry out. So yeah, the To Boot New York shoes, a bit pricey. I think with all the companies, Bridlen, Blackbird, Meermin, many of these shoe companies. Carlos Santos has a Blake Stitch line for less money. In the Carlos Santos Blake Stitch are going to be about what you pay in US dollars for To Boot New York. So keep that in mind. To Boot New York is very stylistic. I've written a comparison of To Boot New York and Alan Edmonds on my website, primedude.com. You can just search up either of those terms, Alan Edmonds, you'll see it. The Italian nature of To Boot New York is definitely seen in the style. Again, they're made in Italy. I just don't know what tannery they use, like NNA or any of the big ones, but this does seem like box calf, antique calf leather. There is a nice natural burnish to it that has maintained over a lot of wear and use. And I didn't initially care for these like I care for shoes now when I first got them. I wasn't this into dress shoes or shoe care or just the study of shoemaking 7, 8, 10 years ago like I am now. So, but I always have been good. My dad taught me about shoe trees and using shoe horns to put on your leather shoes. So the heel is maintained just nice. I definitely took care of those. And it's a nice rubber, like I said, rubber sole. You can see I've worn it pretty well. And these are going to last me a long time. All right, so that part's done, right? So the Saphir. So moving on, I'll let that sit for a second. We're going to talk about the tariffs real quick. 90-day suspension for China, which is real nice for our friends at companies like Meermin, like Urine Shoemaker. Of course, Meermin seems to have space here in the US because when I ordered these loafers, we'll get to those in a second, they arrived here in the US in a couple days. They were clearly not international shipping. So they figured something out. They just have enough inventory. They've done well enough to where it's worth it for them to stock shoes somewhere, maybe on the West Coast, after they receive them from China, because Meermin, they have their Chinese-made shoes. I'll do a full review, not to get too into it, but we're going to look at that shoe here in a second. So I applied, by the way, for this burnished dark brown. I like the Saphir shoe cream polish, right? And this is the Havano or Tobacco brown, right? So this is a tobacco brown. Of course, tobacco has all kinds of different color variations depending on the company. I mean, the tobacco suede loafers I got from Alan Edmonds a few weeks ago, much lighter. But this is this Havano brown. It's dark, but it's not as deep dark as the dark brown shoe polish and shoe polish cream and wax shoe polish from Saphir. So evenly applied that. Gonna get my little towel here. Watch out for the head. Just make sure I have something. I do like applying the shoe cream polish. It's all natural with my fingers. I don't mind, and it washes off easy. So shoe care, of course, is right here. It's the Saphir Renovateur, and it's the shoe cream polish. So we now have a 90-day suspension with the Chinese tariff. So you're not going to pay any issue with extra duty, extra tariff from Chinese products. So Urine Shoemaker, Meermin, if they had to eventually, even though they stopped them here and store them in the United States, they would have eventually had to pass that cost on to us because they're known for their extremely low prices. And certainly I paid $215 for these loafers we're going to look at here in a second. So brush that off. And you can stop there with these shoes, right? You can stop with the shoe cream or the shoe Renovateur from Saphir and just a little bit of that shoe cream polish, and it's just going to look a lot better. So all of those water spots, those little marks, those streaks from where I wore these for 3 days, they're gone, right? And there's still a little glisten to it. You're not talking about a mirror shine, but for now that's going to be good. I'll do the wax and mirror shine later. I'll probably start that in a second. Want to talk about this? This is the shoe I've alluded to. This is the Meermin Tan Antique Calf. Beautiful loafer. So I just did the unboxing. I'm going to wear them this week. As you know, all of my reviews involve actually wearing and putting these to the test. But really surprised, this closed channel, right? Closed channel sole here. And then just look at that waist bevel here. I mean, it's a really intentionally designed loafer. Nice apron stitching at the front. Stacked heel. We'll get into all the details when I do the full review. But what I love about this tan, this antique calf leather, box calf leather, this is from Annonay. So you can go to the website. It doesn't take you but a couple seconds to know where Meermin sources this fantastic leather from the Annonay tannery in France. which is one of the best known and best quality tanneries. The stitching was fantastic. Just to give you the biggest surprise of this shoe, I had the tape measure out when I do the unboxing. You know, if you've seen any of these, like I said, you'll see that what I did with the TLB Marca Artista and the other shoes I've reviewed, the Loke. I will measure the stitches per inch myself. Some of these shoe companies publish it. They know that's important to some of us. And SPI, or stitches per inch, is your sort of, it's one measure of quality you can check in craftsmanship. And on a loafer, you measure that along the saddle, right? That's what we call the saddle. You can also do it on the backstay if you want, but the saddle's nice and straight. And so on a cap toe, you have that option. You can measure the stitching nice and straight too, but you use the saddle for anything else, a monk strap, a loafer, etc. This measured at 14 stitches per inch. You, though, those of you know that's really impressive. If you get over 9 or 10 in a non-bespoke shoe, a shoe made just for your foot, which is going to cost you $2,000 and up, and you need to go in to be personally measured, that's going away one day, by the way. There's technology that's going to do molding of your foot via AI. But for now, you got to get hand measured by a professional for a bespoke shoe. 14 stitches per inch is what you'll see in a bespoke shoe, 14, 15, 16 and up. Luxury shoes over 10. So 14, and that just means it just shows the tight craftsmanship and quality of the shoe. You can feel it, you can see it. The apron stitching I measured to be about 5 or 6 per inch, which is pretty damn good considering it's decorative. You're not trying, with this type of apron stitching, you're trying to show those big stitches. It's sort of a casualizing aspect to it, even though I think the shoe will dress up nicely. As per the review, I'll talk deeply about what you should wear with these. This is not a shoe you would wear with suits. Tan is okay. The TLB Mallorcas, I have both of them, are a tan Cuero color. You can wear those with suits in a dress shoe, right? It's a blind wingtip. Again, not dark navy, dark blue, midnight blue, dark gray. Don't wear this color with those suits or slacks. It jumps out. It takes away from the look, and I do use the analogy of looking like a duck. This would be a great shoe to wear with slacks, light color, linen, cotton blend, linen wool, cotton wool blend slacks, of course, chinos. Guys like these with shorts. I'm not a big nice loafer, closed channel stitching with shorts, but you can. It's with this kind of stitching, this kind of look, a penny loafer is a great shoe to wear with shorts if that's the look you want to go with. But for pants, something to wear to dinner, like I said, chinos, even probably light colored jeans. If you have baggier jeans, maybe not, but really a nice shoe, all around loafer. And I'll just say that I'm pretty positive so far. Haven't worn them yet, but these are Goodyear welted. So unlike many loafers that are just fine, this is called flex welting. This is what they call flex welting at Meermin. The inside of the shoe is unlined, so it's really flexible, and yet they do a nice job reinforcing with that backstay. And so you'll need a shoe tree. I was real surprised. Some loafers you don't. You really should always. And I travel with the plastic one, but they really design the heel to minimize slipping or slippage, which is normal a little bit when you first get a loafer. My little slipping move there. But just keep in mind, it should form eventually. If your heel comes completely out on any shoe, when you take those first steps, it's too big. Okay, jumping to some more shoe care and then talking about style for your environment. When I say environment, I want to talk about the city or country you're in, because it does matter, along with what I'd say season and weather. There's all sorts of factors that make certain outfits in business, I'm going to talk a lot about business here, more or less appropriate, right? So I think I'll just tell you, I was in Miami last week. It's not my favorite city. I think my younger days, having been to South Beach, I could say differently. Nowadays, I like that area, but the drivers in Miami are the worst drivers in the world that I've experienced, and I've been everywhere. Miami drivers are nuts. So on business trips down there, you got to be careful. This includes the rideshare drivers. I can tell you what, I thought getting rideshare in China was pretty crazy. India's pretty crazy too for us Americans, but nothing's like Miami. But I did have a lot of business down there, and I'm going to Florida, especially Miami, a lot. This is, by the way, the Saphir. This is the dark brown. I use the dark brown for anything that looks a little darker than medium brown. Dark brown, which looks extremely dark. It's not black, but it is a dark brown, and I just applied it to the toe. You can see there, I don't apply it unless it's a new shoe. I do not put wax polish on the vamp area here, right? Because it will crack. Even after brushing it off, it's gonna crack if you do it a few times. I like doing it the first time I get a shoe because it's a protective layer. But as our friend Preston Soto has said, he knows shoes better than anyone ever will on the Elegant Oxford. Do not put that wax polish on the vamp area of your cap toes, your derbies, or your loafers. Don't do it. I mean, I don't think it's going to ruin them, but it can get unsightly. You can see that cracking. It'll make those natural cracks and creases that you get over time with a well-worn-in shoe. It'll make them more prominent. So getting back to style, this shoe was great, by the way. This is a derby, dark brown derby in Miami. It's versatile. I could wear that with a suit. Some guys like our friend Oki on Ask Oki, he's not a derby with suit guy. He's all about the cap toe Oxford, which is probably my favorite shoe too. However, you can. This is dark brown. I think the color matters. Dark brown or black derby, right, which is essentially just the lacing system. That's the difference. Lacing system's on the outside with a derby. You can wear this with a suit because of the color. It's a more formal color, dark brown or even black. Got a beautiful pair of black derbies from Carlos Santos I'll be reviewing too. And I'm giving them a second chance. I had an issue. It wasn't with shoe quality. It was with their return process, and I made the mistake of ordering direct from the Carlos Santos website, which it seems is back in business, but exclusively before they were Herring Shoes, Noble Shoe, and maybe one other, I can't remember, that was selling Carlos Santos shoes. Now Carlos Santos has gone back to offering direct on their website, which is a nice website to get good pictures and ideas of the quality, learn about the company. I talk about them in my review of the Bosco Charlie Chukka boots I did. That's out now. Leather quality aside, which is better than I thought. I've had more time to examine it because I did return those boots pretty quickly after taking pictures and trying them on. They were too big, and it cost me $120 to ship them back. That's the short story or short version of the story, because when you order from the website, as I wave the brush around, you order from the website, you cannot, they don't have an included return shipping option even for sizing, which is really a miss on their part. You have that with Herring Shoes, you have that with Noble Shoe, you just don't have it with the Carlos Santos website. So don't order shoes from them directly, even though I do think they offer a nice shoe, and they are, right now, I have not seen a price increase. I was talking about derby shoes, right? So we're gonna full circle, weave back to Miami. And I was mentioning those derbies that I like from Carlos Santos. They're black, they're beautiful. I should have a picture I can put up here if I remember to do that. That review's coming. This is great, Miami style. Lots of lighter colors because it's hot. It got humid. They had a storm, right? It's May right now. It was 100 and something degrees here where I live in Texas just this week, and it certainly, we didn't miss it. It was really humid in the 80s, not as bad as it can get in South Florida, but it was pretty tasty. There's the wax shoe polish edition. I'll let this sit. And I'll do the mirror shine in a little bit, but I'll do that without you guys. I'm still working on it. By the way, May 30th, if you're interested, I'm going to be most likely at the Houston. I'm going to say I'm going to go. I got to book that ticket. Preston Soto's The Elegant Oxford is going to have one of his master shoe shining classes at the Allen Edmonds in the Houston Galleria off of, what's that street? Westheimer. It's that big giant mall. It's got hotels connected to it. I'm there all the time. May 30th, I think it's 1 o'clock Central. He's got that master shoe shining class. It's only $79. It comes with a bunch of comps from Saphir. And from what I see, you're really going to learn exactly what he does to get a mirror shine. So I'm going to endorse it without him even asking me to or even knowing. I'm looking forward to meeting him there. That's May 30th, 2025, Houston, Texas. So Miami styles, it's interesting. So when you have a black derby, you wear this with chinos. You can wear this with slacks or suits, whatever. And I had nice taupe colored slacks, lighter browns, lighter blues. I wore a chambray style shirt from Ledbury. I also wore a linen cotton blend. And so I think it's important when you're in kind of what I call island style or beach style along the East Coast, especially as you get to South Florida, you can get away with your hopsack fabrics, your more casual but dressier or dress up fabrics, because a hopsack blazer in a chestnut brown with the right Oxford dress shirt is perfect for business in places Miami. You won't see one tie. And I'd be the person that wears a tie once in a while, depending on the executive level of the client meeting. But you just don't see it. It's part of the whole mystique down there, or what they do. It is a more casual warm up into a place. Decisions aren't made as fast in Miami. It's very much European. And so the style can be more Italian. You don't see as much drape cut. You don't see more full cut trousers in some of the more business sectors. However, you do see a lot of linen. You do see some pleats, and you do not see ties. So this shoe worked out fantastic because it's got a burnish to it. It's not overly formal. I think if I was wearing black, it might have been a bit much. I start going away from black shoes based on weather right about now. If it's over 80 something degrees, my mind, I can't get around wearing one of my black wingtips or Oxfords. Now loafers are different. I can with lighter grays, with some mid blues. I think that's perfectly appropriate. And you can wear black as a year-round color, depending on the shoe style. So don't get me wrong. It's just sort of where my brain goes with heat. I feel like as I'm walking across a parking lot, carrying my jacket so I don't overheat and look like a soup sandwich coming into a meeting, I do not want to feel or sort of see the black leather, we'll just say, glistening off of the sunlight as my feet bake, walking on asphalt to a meeting. One last reminder before we close it out, guys. Again, my TLB Majorca Artista, this blind wingtip, the Artista 106 review is out. I'll link it down below. That was just released. And then behind it is this beautiful Luke Derby with the rubber sole, what they call inline rubber. It's similar to the, when am I drawing a blank? The Danite rubber soles you see with Allen Edmonds and others. Really a workhorse shoe. Going to be wearing this one. So these are the two shoes, by the way, I'm bringing this week for what would be a more business casual week. And so it's a perfect chance for me to get my wear and use portion of the review like I do with all of my shoes. It's not just an unboxing and visual aesthetic look, but again, all these shoes are coming. Please like, subscribe, guys, share this with your friends. Even maybe share it with someone you don't like to brighten up their day if they need to learn something about shoes or clothes and how they should be dressing and preparing for their business day without getting overstyled, without going over the top. And I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Prime Dude podcast. Drop any recommendations. I really appreciate the gentleman that helped me with that movie director mistake I made last time. I was searching for John Woo in my head, and for some reason I said Anton Fuqua, who did not direct any of the Mission Impossible movies. Of course, John Woo has directed quite a few. I don't think he's maybe done all, but he's definitely been the guy. So there's that correction that I really appreciated from one of what I hope is one of my subscribers. Again, guys, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support. The show is doing extremely well. It's growing. Always comments welcome. Thank you so much. I hope I helped you today. And as always, stay prime.